Just let a man breathe and just hush so my mind could just cease, so my mind don't erupt. At times I feel I can't get enough, but I sip a double cup and I spend a couple bucks. Sending out some love to my blood, to my girl, to my buds, to the homie up above.
Well, hello out there, great lands of lands. It is us, the MCU's Bleeding Edge, live Friday night to discuss Loki, Season 2, Episode 3, 1893. That's right, folks. Now, I thought I'd talk with this voice for you guys for right now because I thought it'd be fun. But anyways, so, yes, we're going to be talking about Loki Episode 3, people, of Season 2, 1893. Oh, and we have our fourth co-host there, Mr. Dodger, in the mix. And
sure to be eating garbage anytime soon.
Garbage eater, motherfucker. Anyways, do you hear that, Dodge? Stop eating the garbage, motherfucker.
For real.
And so yeah, talking Loki. So first thing first here, guys. So going into this episode, I think either you, Jeff, I think it was you, Jeff, that mentioned you thought that we were going to see, by the third episode, we were going to officially see Victor Lowly, Victor Timely. And basically, whoever said that was right on, that we got to see Victor Timely in this episode. And he was like kind of a big main character figure in this episode. So I just want to give a shout out to you for being that knowledgeable there, not realizing he was going to be the third episode. Yes, sir. Yeah, yes. Give props.
And what else did I say? And what else did I say? Time Lord. I said Renslayer would play a big role in the episode too. And look, she got more screen time in this episode than she got in, like, the whole friggin' first season.
Yep, totally. 100%, people, as you can see there. Yeah, Renslayer definitely was a big part of this episode as well. Miss Minutes we finally got to see again, which was nice. Tara Strong providing that great voice. And overall, I just want to give you props for giving us that mention earlier in a previous episode, sir. Great job. Anyways, so yes, this episode is called 1893, and if you didn't figure that out, it's because it takes place in 1893. They end up going back to Chicago, Illinois, in 1893, and so we got a great kind of like great time period we get to see in this episode, which I love that they go back in time, they do this type of thing, and also this is the excerpt or after the post-credit scene in Ant-Man Quantumanium 2 is where we got that clip from, was this little portion here when we're first introduced to Victor Timely. So I think that's really cool. All right. So basically the episode starts right off with a blast. We get Renslayer right off the bat with Miss Minutes. They are in Chicago, Illinois in 1868. And they are basically there for some sort of reason. We kind of get the gist that they're there to drop something off to somebody, but they're not specific on who it is. But eventually they do drop off a brown package into this particular house, which has a young black man in it who goes and opens up the package and happens to be a TVA guy, the one that OB created. So I think that's kind of interesting how the episode starts off with this little tidbit. So before we move on past that, was your guys' first thoughts did you think that this was Victor Timely at a younger age? Andres?
Yes, it was Victor Timely. It was kind of obvious. Come on, people. Yeah. Miss Minutes and then Renslayer were there, so it made it obvious they were gonna do that, which was kind of cool, actually. So it's kind of cool that we saw this very unique direction that these two have to shape up this version of who he remains, to set up the TVA, which we'll get into more of the episode. So right away, hooked on the episode, pretty awesome. And, I was very happy to see Miss Minutes and Renslayer. Yeah, before Jeff will go and Cyber, I will say this is definitely one of my favorite episodes of this season. Like everything just worked here. The pacing, the performances by everyone. Well done. Really love this episode. So yeah, so the opening is great. I mean it was kind of obvious that was Victor Timely. I mean, come on, like who else? Like I guess before I move away, it does indicate they're going to keep Jonathan Majors. Like the fact that it was, a black boy, like a black boy, not like a different ethnicity, or like, because you think they were going to do that for Kane, maybe to, set up Reed Richards or something like that. Because remember, he's related to the Fantastic Four. So it seems like this version is not going to be like that from the comics. So we're going to probably just stick this version of Kane that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has created since Loki. So anyway, great opening. It was kind of obvious that was Victor Timely that the book was going to be handed to. And I mean, they say it repeatedly after the sequence when we see Miss Minutes and all that. Anyway, good.
All right. Jeff, same question, sir. Did you think that was Victor Timely as well?
Yeah, because you got to remember, I think one of the coolest parts about this whole series and everything and whatnot, and there's a sequence later on in the episode where they run into it. They see a poster for a ship that's called the Heron, something Heron, and I think that's a reference to Kate Herron. And I just want to shout out Kate Herron because she did a great job on season 1. The only reason she couldn't do season 2 is because Marvel waited so long to start filming. And she had too many jobs lined up or whatever and whatnot already that she had to fulfill, or she would have came back and directed season 2. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, like that, she didn't, she didn't want to. I didn't realize that until just recently. She didn't want to not do season 2. It was just a scheduling conflict, which happens obviously. But yeah, no, and shouts out to Screen Crush, and for mentioning that when he's making the candles, the young version of Victor Timely, when he's making the candles back then, candles were used as alarm clocks, right? So like you put a nail in the candle underneath the part below the flame that you wanted to wake up. You know what I'm saying? Like whatnot. So right there, that is Victor Timely right there, and that's him fucking with time, even at like age 8 or whatever, whatnot.
Awesome, thank you, sir. Great info there, sir. You really are true knowledge tonight. I'm really impressed, sir.
That's what Miss Minutes should have got him when he was. You got to get him when you're young, Miss Minutes.
Show off. Show off today. I'm done.
Excellent, sir. Thank you. So it's pretty obvious it's Victor Timely at the very beginning. And I mean, when I first saw it and I saw that he got the TVA book, I was like, this has got to be Victor Timely back in 1868 when he's younger, trying to try to, boost him to become, more back to He Who Remains. So, I think that, is great that they kind of are trying to show that like Victor Timely somehow is going to be He Who Remains eventually. So I think that's interesting too, because that kind of puts it into our minds, like kind of thinking, so was the He Who Remains we saw in season 1, was he originally a Victor Timely? So it's kind of, is that a repeating circle and everything? So I think that was also kind of a cool little tidbit there for us and learning about, Victor
Earl
Timely.
Burroughs, right? Right, Cyber? Earl Burroughs.
OB. Yep. OB. He's been around for centuries. Anyways, so after we get the credits, after that little beginning scene, we go back to the present, back to the TVA. Mobius, Loki, OB are there, and OB once again is talking about how they need to fix the Lumen, and that that without Miss Minutes or He Who Remains, they can't fix it, and basically they're all gonna die. And so he kind of makes that apparently clear there as they're talking a little bit there. And, basically they have to figure out where Miss Minutes is. And so they get guidance from MB, what is it, B15, MB 115,
B15.
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 Okay, B15. She says, "Oh, we have a lock on, where Miss Minutes is," and they're like, "Okay." So they basically end up traveling to 1868 because that's where the last signal was. And so they get there and they're looking at it and they're kind of discussing with each other, like, what is the significance of this? I mean, the blackout of 1871 hasn't happened yet, in Chicago does. The World's Fair hasn't happened yet and all that kind of stuff. So they're like, actually, no, we need to go to 1893. They're like, basically we need to, because that was where the other ping was. And they're like, okay, let's go to 1893. So basically they walk back through a door, get to 1893, and now Chicago is booming. This is almost like 20 years later, and Chicago is hugely booming. We got this big ass circus going on, basically this big World's Fair, which was very popular and very real back in actual 1893, and was a huge thing for Chicago at that time. And I love the mention of H.H. Holmes in their talk. I think that was absolutely hilarious and cool because what a great little reference to throw in there for something that was really happening over in Chicago back in the 1800s. So I think that was a cool little nod to that. And basically they arrive there and they see the carnival and they start like kind of walking around and, looking for Renslayer and Miss Minutes. And at this point, we end up catching them walking out of one of the like Chinese theaters or whatever you want to call it, and they're eating Cracker Jacks. And Cracker Jacks was just being made around that time too, as well. That was another like kind of like one of the throw-ins of history they threw in there, which hands down, this episode threw in so much great history. That was very refreshing to see. That was very nice that they were showing some great kudos to some real products that were, being invented at the time. And I really appreciated that. I thought that was good writing on Disney's part there. I think, this really is probably the best that they've brought to us in the last year or so, that really showed that they put some effort into it. And that to me showed that they were putting great effort into it. So they're walking out, they're eating Cracker Jacks and talking, and all of a sudden they see a sign that says Victor Timely, the Marbles, or the Marble, or something like that. And first thing when I saw that, I'm thinking, oh, is this kind of like one of those little like kind of Easter eggs that the Marbles is coming, that the Marbles themselves movie that's gonna probably bomb, unfortunately, is gonna happen. I was kind of cracking up at that because of like the Marvel, and that's like the first thing that came to mind for that. So once they see that, they realize where they need to be, and they go to this place. And this is where we get our first introduction to Victor Timely. So before we move on to that, when we meet Victor Timely, Renslayer's there, what did you guys think about kind of that sequence there of the episode? What did you think about all the kind of little kudos or little Easter eggs they dropped there? Especially the statues of Thor, Odin, and Baldar that they showed. And does anybody know if Baldar is an actual character from the comics or not? And just your thoughts kind of on that little section of the episode. Starting with you, Mr. TrueKnowledge.
Yes, Baldar is go Andres, go ahead. If you want to talk about Baldar, go ahead.
No, he is a comic book character. That's all I just want to confirm that. That's all.
Yeah, no, he's actually he's prominent in Thor comics. And Daniel Craig was supposed to play him in Multiverse of Madness, and the only reason he didn't was because of the pandemic, or else he would have been in the MCU. We would have gotten Daniel Craig. So once again, just to give you an idea of like for people out there and whatnot and everything in terms of Marvel Studios' ability to draw high level talent across the span of the acting and of the acting realm. Daniel Craig is Daniel Craig. The last time I checked, and he was down to sign up to play freaking Baldar of all people, right? Like the only reason why they didn't do it, he was supposed to be in Thor 2 also, and in Ragnarok, not as Daniel Craig. but he's supposed to be in Thor 2 and in Thor 3 as well. They wanted to do Baldar because in the comics, Baldar is like Thor's best friend out of all his brothers. Like, unlike Loki, he doesn't hate Loki. You know what I'm saying? Like, he actually, like, him and Baldar are tight. How he would have been as a character, that's why we got Reed Richards. If Daniel Craig could have played Baldar, there would have been no Reed Richards in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Baldar would have been that representative God, why am I? I guess the time count dimension must be crossing over a little bit and whatnot. Some of that 2088 crack fucked me up or whatever, whatnot. Or you know what? Shit. It could be all these containers I got at the dispensary today. Holy shit. What? Oh shit, there's only like 17 of them. Holy fuck, man. I don't know what's TrueKnowledge doing over here? Anyways, I'm splurging, Cyber. I got my discount. I've never been to the True Leaf over in Ocala. They gave me my first time discount over at True Leaf. There you go, True Leaf. They'll advertise it for you. But no, so Baldar is real legit in the comics and whatnot and everything. And to bounce off of you, Cyber, I think that I just was looking at some of the people that are involved in the second season. The writing has been great. And I think that it's unfortunate because I think that so many people right now are so soured on the MCU. And this is just the vibe I'm getting on like YouTube and whatnot and everything right now recently, that it's getting to the point where they're turning off on things like Loki already, right? Like, when this is actually really good MCU content right now, right? Like, as far as my thoughts on, my point being just that, I think people are starting to get so down on the MCU that they're stepping back when there's good product coming out, right? And it's just unfortunate to see that, or they're casting shade on shit that's actually really well done. Surprisingly, I mean, considering what we've been getting from Marvel, we've been this is a blessing. I mean, I'm enjoying the hell out of this series. But the whole Ouroboros thing, as far as OB goes, one of the people over at I want to say over at Heavy Spoilers has a theory that OB is going to actually end up being a villain of the series. I don't see that happening. Because he's been stuck kind of in the basement, for all this time by He Who Remains. He was purposely obviously put aside. That's why he only saw he hadn't seen anybody but Mobius in 200 years or whatever and whatnot. He's never had his memory wiped. Basically you know what I'm saying? I mean, when he sees He Who Remains, he's gonna know who that is. He's going to see Victor Timely and he's going to be like, oh, I remember you. You're the guy that helped me write the manual. You know what I'm saying? I don't see him being a villain. So I don't know where they're coming with that. But it's funny to me how funny he is, that actor is, every time he talks about how they're all going to die. It's when you're TVA, you don't even the significance of death doesn't seem to bother you that much. When you're OB, you notice OB just doesn't even seem to be he's just kind of well, just so you know, we're all gonna die. Only Hunter B115 seems to really be concerned about it. She's all flipping the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? Whatnot, everything, right? She was actually she didn't get that much screen time this episode or last episode. After the first episode, she was really heavy. They kind of reduced her role a little bit in these last two. But it was the detail that they put into that World's Fair was unbelievable. That's all I'm gonna say. It was literally just it was one of the Dodger, you son of a bitch. They had to put us right next to the door that goes in and out of the freaking hotel, right? Jeez. Anyways, I know, and it was my friend.
It's all good, Dodger.
For real. But no, hats off to the whole production. They produced this in the United Kingdom. They didn't shoot this in Atlanta for once. They actually shot this in the United Kingdom. And hats off. They pulled that off really authentically, like historically accurate, I thought. Right down to the Cracker Jacks, because that was the first time that the Cracker Jacks were actually ever introduced. Was at the 1893 World Fair. So you were right about that, Cyber. That was the first time that Cracker Jacks had ever been done. It's cool how Mobius knows about all this stuff. And like Loki doesn't know anything about sweets. What's he say? Everything tastes like this tastes like ash. Anyways, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, other than it was cool seeing Renslayer.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, I guess it was interesting that it took 2 episodes, I feel, to get like really some definitive Renslayer again, since the last time we saw her on season 1. So I'm sure a lot of people were very psyched to see her. I think she's an okay character. I think the actress is okay. I definitely like her better than Sylvie. And I think that, she's been a better character in the series versus Sylvie, because especially in this episode, Sylvie just pissed me off again. Seriously, this girl is just driving me nuts. But
I thought you were going to be happy with her in this episode. I thought she did all right.
No, because she had to do stupid to get to the good. So you should just get to the good, So
they're trying to evolve her arc, just like everybody else's arc. You know what I'm saying? Like even Renslayer's arc, which I got to give you props on that, Cyber. Google Beth Raw does a great job with that character, and Tara Strong was great in this one. She really was. It was great seeing Miss Minutes. I loved it when when Renslayer told Miss Minutes to try to fit in better, and she flipped herself over into like the old school cartoon version. Like the sort of like Disney 1930s or, like 1940s, like cartoon version. That was really cool too.
Agreed. Very, very, very sophisticated there. I thought that was really smart. Great writing there too, as well. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that sequence too. I mean, I think it's hilarious that I feel like in the last 3 episodes, we've seen Mobius and Loki eating something at least once in each episode. I think it's just hilarious. And I loved it. I loved that they came walking out with Cracker Jacks. It was so funny. So I think that was great. But I thought the whole Odin, the Thor things was hilarious. The statues and how Loki's like, this is so demeaning. This is not how these gods really look like. And he's like, Thor's not even that tall, which was absolutely hilarious. I thought great line there by Tom Hiddleston. Absolutely hilarious. And then that Balder character, I was like, who is this Balder character? Fortunately, I didn't look up to see who he really was or anything, which I just got filled in by you guys. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, a new character to be introduced, which is really cool. I liked how they introduced it as a statue. It's pretty fun. And, but yeah, that whole sequence I really enjoyed too. Like I said, I love the H.H. Holmes reference. That was really fantastic as well. All right, so back to the episode. So we have just been introduced to Victor Timely.
Did Andres even get a chance to jump in on that?
He doesn't get to because he's in the time cop dimension.
Oh, he's frozen in the time cop dimension.
Oh wow!
I think he's Time Lord.
I
was getting your thoughts on that sequence.
Yeah, I don't know what to feel now. I feel dirty now. I'm sorry. I feel violated.
You feel dirty. You've been violated, huh?
Yeah.
Good.
Anyway. What? Oh my God, general audience, please help me in the court of law. Anyway, this was really great. It was great to see Renslayer. I agree with Cyber. I mean, she wasn't my favorite character either in season 1, but the actress, is doing such a great job in this one episode, which is great. Because, like, we need to bring up, well, I mean, I don't know, but like, I really like the camaraderie between her and Miss Minutes. Like, those two are really great pairing. like that's the reason that the show works is because of Loki and Owen Wilson's Morbius is really great as a pairing, and so I really like the Rainslayer and I say Morbius right. Oh my god, Cyber, don't judge
You
me.
said it
Anyway,
right.
yeah.
You said Morbius.
Well,
No,
I
he said Mobius.
Morbius, right? I'm trying not to say the Morbius. That's how you say Morbius. I say Morbius. Anyway,
He's
Mr.
still
M.
saying it.
No, what? Mr. M. I'm gonna call him Mr. M, just like Mr.
Ugh.
H. And it's okay. I'm sorry, folks. This is too much. So anyway, Rainslayer and this man is being pair is really interesting, because these two have these like really strong, like followership to the He Remains and the TVA, all that. So that's pretty cool. Um, I yeah, I totally agree with you saying about the history. That's the reason I really love this episode and why it's my favorite, because I really like the historic. I'm a huge history buff, and so I really dug the whole history and the little details they did with the historic accuracy. Like I didn't know, but you totally blew my mind, Jeff, about the candles, like the thing for telling time. That was really cool touch. Yeah, and I really appreciate about the Cracker Jacks. That was really great. The Marvel thing, it's actually the second time the show kind of referenced Marvel, because the first episode when Loki did the recording, this was it, He Remains say to Rainslayer, "Oh, you are a Marvel." So it's just a thing that Marvel's just like patting their back to themselves.
Did you notice the difference in his voice as Victor Timely compared to the recording?
Yes, it sounds more confident actually. If you think about it, yeah, that's the one big huge difference. Because it seems like the Who Remains in that recording is the Who Remains who was actually controlling the TVA before he kind of hide and before he used the timekeepers as like the the head of the TVA, secretly, yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. It was very different, but it makes sense. I mean, with the post credit scene. I was very happy they brought back the Odin and Loki, because like you kind of forget in the show that Loki is a Norse god, and I like that Mr. M kind of referenced that I forgot you're one of them, and like you're which is cool. So yeah, so Mr. M, great character. Love how you referenced that. But yeah, I really dug that, and the production design, that's something we need to bring up. The production design on this episode alone is hugely impressive. One of the best in the series. I love it. That's the one thing about this show is that its top-notch production value is great compared to other Disney Plus shows like Secret Invasion. But yeah, so it was really awesome. And just addressing Jeff about people's like waiting, like this show has high ratings, viewership. Like people are watching the show. It's just that like no one is really caring about the Marvels. So that's the thing. And right now we don't really know what's going on with the schedule because of the writers. Well, the writer strike is done, but the actor strike is not done. So we don't know what's going to happen. Like I heard recently that probably Deadpool 3 is not going to meet its release date, but that's another whole conversation. So again, it's just everyone is just like, what's going on? But like everyone is enjoying the show. I don't think it's like it's hurting Marvel. It's like it's good that we have Marvel like this show going on before we get to the Marvels, because the Marvel is going to be no. What if it's going to be our last thing for 2023 as Marvel project? So, but yeah, I think everyone's enjoying the show. I mean, we will discuss this later towards the end of the series. Like, is it better than season 1? That's really up to debate for me. I need to see the other 3 episodes to judge that. But so far, I've been enjoying this series equally as much as the first season. So that I will say is true. But yeah, I love this sequence. I was so like just those few minutes were awesome. I'm just excited to talk about more Jonathan Majors as Victor Timely. So, but yeah. I hope my knowledge was great, Cyber, and my mastery of Time Lord worked. I didn't know my Time Lord I've been very discriminated, folks. That's a time one. I should bring David Taylor. He's Kilgrave. Control these two. You will laugh now. Anyway, Cyber, go ahead. I'm done.
Okay, thank you, 60-minute man. Yes, Jeff, you said you wanted to redirect.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I think that Andres, I didn't have time to look for the video, but I finally heard somebody from Screen Crush talk about the reshoots with Secret Invasion and everything and whatnot that blew the budget up and all that shit and whatnot and all that shit. It's still insane to me that that 6 episodes of that series costs $250 million. Like, honestly, it's interesting, Andres, that you mentioned the dichotomy. I hadn't even thought about like comparing season 2 to season 1 yet. This is the first. This and What If, folks, is going to be the first times that here at the Bleeding Edge we've ever covered a second season of anything, like consistently, like one after another. It'll be the same thing when we do The Last of Us season 2 and/or season 2, which I can't wait for all of that. That's going to be awesome. It's going to be great to look forward to. And also I just wanted to point out too as well that I love the costume design work. Whoever did the costume design and whatnot and everything, for the era clothing, I thought that Mobius and Loki looked really sharp, and I liked how Jonathan Majors was dressed.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing with last episode with the 70s. They
and Renslayer too. I liked her look too. I thought I liked how she looked.
Yeah. No, I agree, Jeff. Everything is like top notch. Like the costume designs are awesome. The music is awesome. Oh, the music, the opening titles, was great. Yeah, like that was so cool. They used the like 1920s classical music.
The ragtime.
Yeah, as the Marvel theme, that was so cool. That was right away my favorite thing on that. So, just want to bring up, but yeah, I agree with Jeff. It's top notch. This production has been like so far leaps than Secret Invasion in terms of production values.
Oh, and speaking of which.
There you go, folks. A little Marvel introduction for you.
Yeah, show off as usual. The third time.
I've been forgetting about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Mr. 60-minute man, please. You are really 60-minute man tonight, so you need to calm down, sir. I'm gonna have to come over there and spit slap you, sir. I'm serious.
Like I was gonna do Dodge earlier for eating the fucking garbage.
Anyways, people, as we move on. So, like I was saying, we get our first introduction to Victor Timely. Mobius and Loki show up at the event, and there is Victor Timely, who, like I said before, we all have come across as the post-credit scene in Ant-Man Quantumania. And they're there. They notice that Renslayer's there, and Mobius wants to go over and grab her, but Loki's like, "No, wait, let's watch the presentation." And basically, we have Victor Timely show us kind of like something he's been supposedly working on, and which happens to be the loom that's broken. Oh, what a coinkydink that he's working on in 1893. The loom that's broken that Obi keeps talking about, that everything will end if we don't fix this. And so basically he like puts on this spectacular show and gets all these people wanting to buy the idea, because he basically like iterates it as like, I'll be able to, light the whole world, give the whole world light, basically. And so, after he's done doing his presentation, we get those great sparks, that great kind of like showmanship type of thing. And he gets down thing. Renslayer tries to walk up and say, "Can I have a moment with you to talk with you?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, of course you can. You can talk with me. Let's find a private place." She's like, "Can we? Yeah, let's go to a private place." And I just want to say that I love how Jonathan Majors has made sure Victor Timely has a different voice and kind of has that stutter, giving a little more in depth into Victor Timely and kind of making him different than He Who Remains that we saw in season 1. And I appreciated that. And I liked how he kept like kind of stuttering through his words in this episode. I thought it was really unique and fun. And so as he's trying to get away with Renslayer to talk privately, Loki and Mobius start trying to make their way up, and then this one gentleman comes up and wants to get the patent from him, and he's like, no, he tells him no, and basically a few other people like stop him and like, I want to buy it, and so then he gets up in the middle of the crowd, says, so let's just open the bidding now, he says, and they start like having kind of a little bit of bidding war between those two guys that kind of first, kind of talked to him about wanting to buy it. And he ends up selling it to the one older gentleman who ends up buying it for $1,000. Now, if you think about it, $1,000 back in 1893 was like having $1 million today. Like, I mean, that's like he was rich at that time. If he had $1,000 on him like that, that's pretty impressive. And so he basically has bought the patent to the loom, basically, which supposedly works. And so then, after that, he starts making his way with Renslayer before Loki and Mobius basically intercept them. And they're both trying to talk to him at the same time and saying kind of what's going on. And then as they're trying to make their way out, and they're both like kind of, all of a sudden the one guy figures out that this one project that he had made for this other guy, these electric pants, were defaulting. He said he needs to, can you come by and fix them for me? Because you said that these were guaranteed to work and stuff like that. And he's kind of like, what are you talking about? They'll make you taller. And he kind of slouches down a little bit to make it look like he's taller. And he's like, I'll come by next week and I'll dust them for you. He's like, okay. And, as after they encounter this guy, that's when the other guy realizes that the loom's a piece of shit and it's not really working and goes after him. And so he starts running, bolting, basically with Renslayer. And, they end up going back to a place that he supposedly is his place, but it really isn't, and to talk. And in the midst of that, Mobius and Loki somehow get separated from them at that point before they get to the house, or to that apartment, wherever it is in. So they get into that apartment. So we'll stop right there. So what were you guys' thoughts on the whole demonstration scene? What were your thoughts on the Renslayer, the Mobius, the Loki kind of situation? Them trying to talk to him and get things out of him. How he reacted to the people trying to buy the junk that he's basically producing, and kind of just that whole sequence leading up to when they get to his like hideaway apartment there, that we think is his apartment, but really isn't. Starting with you, Andreas.
Good. I'm happy. I'm getting respect now. Anyway, no, it's a really good introduction. I was very happy. As an MCU fan, I'm not keen on seeing scenes from post-credit scenes like Iron Man 2 with the Thor thing, but this one was really great because of just the way Tom Hiddleston had this reaction recognizing Victor Timely as a variant of He Who Remains was really great, and it was still great in this full sequence we saw, compared to the shortness from Ant-Man 3, which is great. Jonathan Majors, whatever you think about him now, stuff that's happening to him this year, he's still a great actor. I can, some great art and all that. I think his performance here, this episode alone, is really great. I think I agree with Cyber that it was good that he changed his, like he has like the way he moves is really cool. He has this quirkiness, and like I like how he stutters. Like he's this very mad scientist that you can like. This is like the stereotypical mad scientist you can imagine in this kind of 1920s sort of. And I think the way that Measures did it is really awesome. Um, and really cool. Like I like this version how he's like a salesman. Like he's this like Richard Pryor like salesperson of like treating these people and these inventions that
He's a straight con artist.
yeah, and I love the detail of there was one shot of the guy drinking a beer in the bar where the presentation was at, and then you see quickly where he gives the dollar to him because he's the one that's helping him with this like show, and that was so great. It was such a cool like just payoff for that. That was awesome. Um, but yeah, it was really awesome, and it was cool to see Loki use more magic. I really dug his like new abilities and magic we're seeing in the show. I like how he makes that what big, chubby, Abraham Lincoln guy, and then put him in a cage. That was funny. That was like so funny when it came out outside. Um, yeah. Um, Rainslayer and like Loki and Mr. M talking to Victor outside was really engaging because they're trying to get his attention, trying to pull him to one direction, for Rainslayer's trying to get the TVA back in order, as I think she wants it, where more, Mr. M and Loki needs him to fix, the temporal aura to like stable the branches over, TVA. So it's like desperate time because we don't know how long the branches will destroy the TVA, as OB say early in the episode. So I really like the intensity that's going on with that scene, and it's very funny because like they're like going back and forth. They know each other, and then like Rainsitter is trying to say no, I don't know them as well, all that. So it was really really funny. It was funny about was a councilman in that stretchy pants. Like should he know that he's like that doesn't work? Like he's still like short. It was so funny that this guy, this Victor Timely, is tricking this councilman to be taller with this like trackable Inspector Gadget pants, and it's like I need to be tall, So that was very funny, for an episode like that. But yeah, so I really fairly enjoyed like just the reintroduction of Victor Timely from the post credit scene, and here was a really great setting. Like just like seeing a different version of Victor Timely, which is good because I think I enjoy. I gotta say I enjoy. I think his performance here in the show than Ant-Man 3. Really, I think I enjoyed the showrunners of Loki handling the Kane character here than the movies. Really, I have to say. So, but that's another time we'll discuss that. Yeah, but overall, good section here.
Well, remember who the showrunners really are for Loki season 2. It's Kevin Feige, Alonso, and all the rest of his squad. That's who the showrunners are. That Loki season 2 doesn't have a showrunner.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the writers and the director. They're the ones that make that. They're the ones that shoot. That they're the ones that make all the calls.
I mean,
right? That's what we flushed out. I mean, that's the dichotomy. That's part of what's been Andre's what we've been discussing on the Bleeding Edge report regarding, and what we talked about a little bit here during like Loki episode 1, I think, about kind of where things were at with the MCU. Part of the problem has been that compared to like Daredevil, for instance, on Netflix, where they had an actual showrunner designated to be the showrunner for the series, the showrunners for all the Disney Plus series are all the same ones. It's Kevin Feige and his inner circle, and that's it. That's my only point. Is just that that's who the showrunners are for all the Disney Plus series. So they're the ones that are green lighting everything and whatnot, right? But they don't have showrunners. Same thing with Star Wars. So
I disagree there. Star Wars do have showrunners, and They,
Well, Filoni and Favreau run the show now.
yeah, they run the show. They know what they're doing in the shows. They know they're adapting the TV format. Here, it's typical Marvel because the Marvel method they're doing in the movies, they're doing that in the TV, as Jeff was saying. So, yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying that the writer and the director are doing a good job of handling Kane than what
I agree.
Peyton Reed, and the writer who wrote M3 just they fumble certain aspects of Kane there. But anyway, it's not a whole story. But yeah, I agree. We discussed this in Run Report. Saber, you're mute.
Thank you, sir. Jeff, your thoughts on it?
Mostly, I mean, Andre's pretty much said quite a bit already. I mean, basically, we haven't gotten to the point where Sylvie's in the episode yet. So, I mean, I'll read what they have on the Wikipedia right here about Victor Timely. They have it. This is what they have. They have Victor Timely is an industrialist and inventor in 1893. Remember, this is a branch timeline. This is a different timeline than the one that they went to in 1868. This is the branch timeline. This is the variant timeline. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just like the events of the time heist caused this Loki to branch a timeline. This is another branch timeline right here. Who has created an early version of the temporal loom. He has a stutter and an awkward, timid personality and acts as a con man selling others his creations. Discussing the contrasting personality of Timely to other Kang variants, Wright said it was fun to have Timely be sort of an eccentric, quiet inventor that maybe is like a bit out of time and out of place, rather than the expectation of the next Kang variant to appear in the MCU to be some sci-fi villain from the future. Marvel Studios was excited to continue exploring Kang and his variants in the season, particularly wanting Timely for Loki, with executive producer Kevin Wright noting his inclusion and integration will be a big part of the season. So yeah, I mean, I loved it. I thought that Jonathan Major's performance as Timely was great. I love that you've got competing interests in terms of like you've got dual parties that both want to run the TVA but want to run it in different directions, right? So you've got like people competing with Mobius and Hunter B-15 and Loki, right? Although I still think Loki's going to end up running the TVA. I do, at least temporarily. He's going to become He Who Remains, essentially. Like I think by the end of either the end of this season or season 3, the question is going to be who's going to be the villain of this series. It looks like it's going to be Miss Minutes. Based off of like what we saw in this episode, like I mean, she's pretty far out there. We haven't gotten to that part of the episode yet, but she's pretty. There's some awkward shit there that goes on with her. And Tara Strong was great, but no, I loved it. I love that he's a con man. What does Loki call him? He says, "You're a confidence man." Confidence artist or something like that or whatever, whatnot, right? Like that's like because only like of course a Loki would be able to spot like a con artist, or right, or like a trickster, because he's the ultimate trickster. He's a Loki, right? Like they're all tricksters. They're all like that's the deal. Like you know what I'm saying. And I love how in the Loki title, all the different variations of the letters represent different variants of Loki. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and different symbols represent different Lokis in different parts of the MCU, in different films. I love that part. No, hats off to Jonathan Majors. Again, they had to cast somebody that could play this character, this Kang character in whatever form necessary, whatever as many times as possible, and make it and have it be differential from character to character to character with some similarity. And so I thought it was really great. I love Mobius was this wasn't his best episode, but he was pretty solid. And it was interesting watching everybody kind of compete for Victor Timely and how much of a steak salesman he is, like a steak roll salesman.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. So I really enjoyed this part too. I like how it was very theatrical. I felt like that's how it would be back in the late 1800s. Somebody doing some sort of like gag or some sort of like promotion for something, somebody that's an inventor or stuff like that would act and stuff like that. And I thought they did a good job of keeping that pretty realistic and keeping it really fun. And I thought the special effects were done really well in this sequence too, especially with the time loom and stuff like that. So I thought they really did a fun job with this whole section. And just the funny one-liners throughout this whole entire sequence was really fun too. Loki eyeing that he's a shyster, all that kind of stuff. I think it's really great. And just kind of the communication that they have with each other was pretty funny too. All right. So, moving on from there. So after they get to that like a little apartment place, Renslayer, Miss Minutes, and Victor basically kind of have a little bit of conversation there. They're basically, tell him kind of what's going on, like who he's supposed to be, that he's supposed to be, he who remains, end up becoming, and that kind of etc. Basically kind of filling him in because he asks like, all right, so something's going on here. What is it that I need to know? And so they, basically fill him in and say, well, and he's kind of like, we got to get out of here before they find it. And she's like, oh, this isn't your home. She's like, no. He's like, no, this is just somebody else's place. I'm just hanging out here. And we got to get to my lair, basically. And so they jump out and get out of there. And that's when those crazy people that sold him, gave him the money, are after him. Loki and Mobius show up. And they all start chasing him. And at one point, Loki and Mobius and those guys, they kind of confront each other. And Loki's like, he said, the one guy says something. He's like, all right, this is enough. And he uses his magic on them. They're like, okay, we'll go this way. We don't need him. You can have him. And so then they start chasing after Victor and Renslayer down around that area where the apartment is. And they come up on each other. And they're looking at like, where the heck have they gone? So they basically go off to try to find them. And then we see that they're hiding behind the wood in one of the buildings. And they make their way onto a boat. And they get on the boat. And basically Renslayer and Victor kind of have like a moment there where they're kind of like getting along, getting to know each other a little bit. And basically she kind of makes the reference like, oh, now I'm starting to see he who remains in you. I'm starting to see who you're supposed to become. And at that moment, it's like Miss Minutes has somehow convinced Victor to get rid of her because she's jealous. And we'll find out that in a second here. And so he ends up dropping her down in the water in a lifeboat and saying goodbye along with Miss Minutes. And so then Miss Minutes and Victor show up at his place. So before we get to that, what were you guys' thoughts on that little section of the episode? What did you think about the conversation in the apartment area? What did you think about them trying to catch each other, kind of chase sequence? And then what did you think about kind of that camaraderie between Renslayer and Victor kind of getting to know each other and kind of she's starting to see kind of like who he's supposed to be. And then him ditching her. What was your thoughts on that too? Starting with you, Jeff.
Well, I thought it was typical Kang. Kang doesn't do partners. You know what I'm saying? He already said that. He already said that at the World Trade at the fair that he don't do partners. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing. No Kang variant is going to like do partnership. It's going to be in a partnership with anybody. They don't do that. That's not their deal. Kang only works with other like supervillains and shit like that and whatnot to fuck them over. You know what I'm saying, or whatever, whatnot, or like take their shit or whatever, whatnot, or whatever, or use them in some way. Like it's always about him. It's almost like he has an arrogancy about him. They all do. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a certain arrogancy about all of them that where they have this like they feel like they have this god complex almost, like especially with time, right? And time being the focus of all of it always. But no, I really enjoyed it. So I mean, like, I think that he cut Renslayer loose flat out because she mentioned the word partnership. She flat out said, like, like something about partnering with him or something like that and whatnot. And he dropped her right there. And then Miss Minutes went schizo. I had a feeling that Miss Minutes was going to like cop feelings. I did at some point. Like, I knew, but it was weird when it went down. It was a little bit weird. It was strange. Like, how her voice like broke up digitally when she was like, I could be your girl or whatever and whatnot and everything. It kind of creeped me out a little bit. Because he had all the dolls and shit and whatnot.
We haven't talked about that yet.
Oh, my bad.
We haven't gotten there yet.
I apologize. But no, I mean, other than that, just that I think that I like where Renslayer's arc is going. Like this episode, I like the direction this puts her in. I do. I like where this is leading for her. Well, we'll get into where she ends up and whatnot and everything. And obviously we saw her in the void in the trailer, right? So like, it's interesting watching these scenes, right? And and having a little bit of like back and forth between the TVA, because the TVA is such an instrumental part of the season. It really is. It's the focus, right? So having a little bit of dialogue, between between home base and whatnot, everything, right? Like, contacting Hunter B-15 and whatnot and all that kind of stuff. That was pretty cool. But yeah, it was the dialogue between them. You can see, like, obviously they're building towards the romantic relationship between Renslayer and He Who Remains, right? Just like in the comic books with Kang.
Cool. And a part I forgot to mention earlier, I like to get your thoughts on it before I go to Andres. The chase sequence we were talking about earlier that leads to the Ferris wheel and our first time seeing Sylvie. What are your thoughts on that sequence where Loki stops her from killing Victor timely?
I thought it was great growth of showing a lot of growth in her character, because I mean, that's not when, like, that's not the part. That's when Loki stops her from killing him. It's later on in the episode. When Loki stops from killing him, I thought it was perfect timing. It was typical Sylvie. She's a woman of her word. She's a Loki of her word. Like, when she says she's going to do something, she does it. So the minute that like He Who Remains variant popped up, she was there to kill him.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Andres, Mr. 60-Minute Man.
Yes.
Your thoughts, sir, on that sequence, and also the first time Sylvie pops up in that Ferris wheel to try to kill Victor timely.
Yeah. So, just to play my second watch. In the second watch, I did notice that, Victor timely took, back of her saying that it would be good partnership. Like he doesn't like partnership, so I was very shocked about that. But also, like, it was funny in that scene as well. Miss Minutes smiled a little bit because she knew that was like the wrong way to say it, and so she was happy that she's completely overthrow herself. That this version of Kane doesn't like to be in partnership, so that was kind of cool. The wheel. So Sylvie, it's like, what's going on with Sylvie? Like, I like the wheel, the Ferris wheel fight scene. It's really great. The special effects is awesome. I really like Tom Hiddleston's acting here. Like, just them using their magic. All that is really awesome. I understand what Sylvie's at, but the thing that's so frustrating, it's I don't like to compare this to other MCU characters, but it's this very typical thing with female characters. They have this one motion, and you need to like Emilia Clarke. Actually, like, let's bring her in the picture of Secret Invasion. I like Emilia Clarke. She's a great actress. Like everyone, all of us know that. But Secret Invasion is like a good example of not how to direct your actor, and like her performance there was just very one note, and like there I don't understand what her motivation was. Like they were destroying her loop here. I understand where Sylvie's coming here, as you know, because from last season and all that, as Jeff saying, like it makes sense about her character arc, but it's just like she should be more open minded and like listen smartly, like listening Loki on the implication of the multiverse, right? In the war that it's gonna happen, right? And I just feel like she's just annoying a lot of these like facts that she knows from Who and Remains, and like endangering her and the whole time, like the whole timeline of the multiverse, just for her selfish needs of trying to kill this one person that ruined her life. Like I get that, but like, come on, like you need to think about the other people on the branches and all that. And like, I just don't get why she's so naive and like not thinking clearly on the implications that what Who Remains gave her last season. You know, like Loki is taking it seriously. Like Loki is like 100% proactive as a character, and like he's doing everything he can to keep the TVA like, you know, like functional and try to fix these things. You know, like he listened to like Mr. M. Like Mr. M say, look, we have a thing, like a major thing that's a problem, and Victor Timely is a second problem later on. Like, you know, he remind Loki that the, you know, the temporal error is the most important thing we need to do now. And like Loki understood that. Sylvie just, it's just like, I get it, you know, I get it. I know your life is taken away from TV, but you also have to understand there's also other people that you should consider, and I just don't get it, and it's frustrating, you know, especially towards the end. It's like I don't know, it's just like just one note for Sylvie, and that's the thing that is hurting her character, and that's not what I like, and it doesn't help. Like I guess Cyber, like you don't like the character. I like her when she's with Loki, and that's the issue right now with this season. She's not with Loki at all. It's making her like less interesting as a character.
Good
And
point.
you know, I think that's one of the things that I
They'll go
don't.
back to that theme.
Yeah, maybe. I hope so. Later in the
They have
series.
to. They already said that they're gonna that same the same producers, that right guy already said that they're going to explore more deep into like their actual romantic relationship in the series. So we'll be getting that in episode 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope, like, besides that, also like a friendship as well, like they're partners in crime, like how Loki and Mr. M is in the show, you know. Besides romantic relationship, like I think it should be more than that, you know. And I they have good chemistry. Don't make it wrong, but like it should be more than just like liking each other. It's like it should be more like why you like each other and all that. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the, you know, Victor Timely and like the Rainslayer stuff. It's really setting up the comics, as Jeff said before. Like I really like they're showing us that it could be like the comics or maybe not, you know, because of the stuff we're learning about Who Remains and the Kane variant, like how he is as a person. I really like, so you don't know how this relationship between him and Rainslayer will be, because remember, like we don't really know how they end up to be, and I have a theory what's going to happen to Rainslayer, but we'll see. But overall, I really enjoyed those two segments. I have a major problem with Sylvie during the first wheel, but it's just her. But overall, it's really fun, and it's very cinematic with the first wheel, which I enjoyed.
Thank you, sir. Fantastic, sir. I mean, yeah, I mean, I've heard that too about them getting back to that relationship a little bit, and I mean, basically, all they're doing is they're saying you're in love with yourself here, because Sylvie is a variant of Loki. She's not really a real person if you think about it. She's just another offshoot of Loki. So basically, he's in love with himself. So we're talking about being in love with yourself here, which I think is hilarious as hell. So them going further on that, to me, cracks me up, and just makes it even more showing that Loki is he's self-absolved. So I think that's fantastic. That really plays great into the character. But at the same time, like talking about Sylvie again a little bit here. I'm glad that she hasn't been in it as much as she was in the last season. I have preferred that because that freaking mullet haircut annoys the hell out of me too. I can't stand her hairdo in this season. It's even worse than her last season hairdo. I'm like, what are they trying to go for? Trailer trash renter park here or something? I mean, like seriously, like they could have gotten a better hairstylist for $250,000. Like come on, $250 million, whatever. I mean, yeah, I get that she's kind of evolving, but at the same time, like I said before, that beginning scene where nothing changed after she killed He Who Remains at the end of the last season. You think that would have prompted her to realize killing more of these variants isn't going to do anything. And so her still going after to kill other Kang variants, to me, is just stupid. And that's why I find that character annoying at this point, because she hasn't got to that point where she should just realize she needs to be like Loki's being. That this variant needs to go in that direction. And I get that they're trying to keep them separate, because they're, one's a female version of Loki and the other's Tom Hiddleston Loki, trying to keep them a little different so they're not just like matching images of each other. I get that for, character representation. But at the same time, it's like, come on, you need to get Sylvie on the same path as Loki. And I just don't see it being anytime soon. She's just too out there still. So it's going to be interesting to see where she ends up at the end of the season, most definitely. And this episode, I feel, didn't help with any of that getting to the better part at all, I feel, like Andres was saying. But Sophia DiMartino, like I've said before, she's okay of an actress. She's not horrible. She's not bad. But I definitely think that she has evolved a little bit since the first season. I will give her that. That I do feel that she is a little more better in this season versus last season because of the evolution. So I think that it's getting better as it goes on. It's still not my favorite, but still it has gotten a little better. I will give her that credit. And just better writing, I think. Like I said, I feel that this season has better writing than the previous season. I'm not saying the last season was horrible writing. I'm just saying I feel this has a tad bit better writing than the previous season had. So
Waldron wrote last season, didn't he?
He co-wrote it, I believe, with somebody else last season.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think he solely wrote it this season. So I think that's why it's a little better, because it's just his thought, his train of thought. Kind of same thing like as you were talking earlier about the producers, showrunners. The only reason Victoria Alonso's name is still on this project is because they had to strike a deal with her to keep her name on anything she had her name on when they let her go. And that was like a court order type of thing. So
yeah.
She really wasn't even a part of this.
I know.
And you could see there was a big difference in the female feelings in this film versus the last season, I feel. So I think that's another reason we're seeing a lot less of the female actresses in this season too. And I think that's another reason why Renslayer, they didn't give her a bigger part in last season, because they were waiting for her to have a bigger part in this season, I think. I don't think it had anything to do with the writing or anything like that. I think literally they were waiting for the story to progress to give her more screen time, I feel. And for her character to evolve, which they needed it to start to evolve, like everyone's been saying, that love interest between her and He Who Remains, and that storyline. So I think definitely we'll be seeing more Renslayer in this episode than last episode. Like I feel probably 3, 4, 5, and 6 we'll see a significant amount of Renslayer in the next 3 episodes besides this one. So I have a feeling we'll be seeing a lot of her towards the end of the season, especially because, like you were saying, Jeff, how in the trailer we saw her in the Void. So I think we'll be seeing quite a bit of her. Great conversation, fellas. Great. All right, so we have left off when Victor and Miss Minutes get to his actual bungalow, his actual hiding place. And that is where we see the mannequins you mentioned earlier, Mr. Jeff. And where kind of Miss Minutes starts kind of going on a freak out rage. Basically explaining how, she was started out as a simple AI and then ended up becoming more with his building of her, and how she was able to create even more of herself after he gave her the ability to do that. And basically, as the years have gone on, she's grown and she's basically become infatuated or in love with him, this artificial intelligence, and that she wishes she had a real body so she could express this to him, because she is in love with him. And that's partially one of the reasons why, He Who Remains, or Victor Timely, left Renslayer back, is because she was jealous. And so we kind of get that interesting moment. Miss Minutes turns herself back into the more modern looking Miss Minutes from the 1800s version. And basically, she expresses herself to him. And as she's talking and stuff, you can see that Victor is realizing there's something wrong here. This is not how it should be. And when she starts to go kind of really bat crazy, he turns her off. And after he turns her off, that's when all of a sudden Renslayer pops back up. And she's like right behind him. And she has a prototype of the pruning gun that they have in the TBA, which this thing is just badass. Like, I mean, it's like huge. It's like grabbing a Gatling gun or something, like how she's holding it and shit. And I'm just like cracking up going, what is she going to do with that thing? Like, what is this thing? And, basically after he says that's a prototype, and I'm like looking at the orange color of it and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, it's a pruning gun. Oh, awesome. And so basically she comes out and has it pointed at him, and he's kind of like, oh, okay, hold on, and basically, kind of pleading with her, like, and as she's doing that, that's when Loki and Mobius pop up, and then also Sylvie pops up. And Mobius and Loki are trying to talk to her, and Mobius is having a conversation with her, and basically she's like pointing everything back at him, saying, "How dare you?" Blah blah blah, and this stuff like that. And I was cracking up at that point. I'm like, you're the one that caused all the problems. What are you talking about? I'm like, you can't be pointing this back at Mobius. You're as much to blame. Like, Mobius was just following orders. He was just being what he was supposed to be, what he was taught. And I'm thinking to myself, like, did you see all the things you did in last season, Renslayer? Like, seriously? Like, really? And she's like, doing that crap. And then, they're trying to, like, oh, hold on, and stuff like that. And Victor Timely's kind of on the ground, kind of, like, cowering, like, in fear of being pruned. And then, like I said, that's when Sylvie pops up. And she's got her sword. And basically she's like, it's like, get him out of here, as she goes over to almost kill him again. And because Victor kind of pleads with Sylvie, saying, I'm not that person, I'm my own person, I make my own decisions, and blah blah blah, I'm not this He Who Remains. And you can see literally on Sylvie's face kind of how she's like feeling kind of heartbroken and kind of like indecisive, and kind of like, yeah, this is not the right thing to do. So that's where I give her kind of that OD, like I said, that she's improving in what she's with her character a little bit. By that moment, she really starting to finally get that kind of like through her skull, like, oh, I shouldn't do this because it didn't do anything last time. So I have to give her kudos. That's the kudos I'm giving her, is that sequence there. And she's like, get him out of here. And so Mobius opens up a doorway to the TBA, and Mobius, Loki, and Victor make their way through that. And Sylvie basically says, I'll take care of this. And it goes back to Sylvie and to Renslayer. And Renslayer's like, basically like, blah, 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 kill me, whatever. and Sylvie like has the sword pointed at her, and then takes the butt end and hits her on the stomach with it, and basically, you know, says, Sylvie basically goes, you don't know how many times through my head, thousands and millions of times, I thought of how I would kill you, and kill you every single time, more graphic, the next and the next. And, you know, basically, you know, telling her, and then all of a sudden it's like the end. And you're like, what the hell? Like, where is this going? Like, why would you end on a note? And like I said, the episode ends. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the last part of the episode? What did you think about Victor kind of talking Sylvie down? What did you think about the Mobius and Renslayer speech? How did you feel like Renslayer acted there? Did you agree with her? Did you hate it? Overall, what was your thoughts on that last part of this episode? And we'll start with 60-Minute Man right now.
Yes. By the way, my name is Pop Culture Guy, not 60-Minute Man, folks. But anyway, I like 60-Minute Man. Anyway,
who's this Pop Culture Guy? I've never heard of him.
I'm sorry, folks. I knew that was gonna happen. I set that up. Anyway, let's talk Miss Minutes here. I love Terry Strong. I mean, look, I grew up watching Powerpuff Girls. Of course, the DCAU, the DC Animation Universe. You know, her being the voice actress for Barbara Gordon for the new Batman.
I watched Powerpuff Girls too.
Yeah, well, she voiced was it Bubbles? Plays Bubbles. Of all the characters, she plays Bubbles. Of course, she took over for. Oh my god! Yes, of course, yes. I know, folks. If you're my age, we've seen the Powerpuff Girls. Don't be ashamed. Anyway, of course, she took over for the late great Arlene Sorkin from the Arkham games, so she was a great, you know, voice actress for Harley Quinn. My god, this is the reason I love this episode was just Miss Minutes. I was so happy we expanded Miss Minutes as a character. I mean, she was fun in last season. I mean, and you know, towards the end of the season 1, we discovered she was a accomplished for Huey Remains. You know, Kane. I kind of wish we had her for MN3 because just, you know, with this episode, I was like, oh my god, she's so. Her just talking to Victor Timely alone and just telling her how he allowed her to, you know, have a conscious AI, you know, think for herself and all that, like, you know, typical sci-fi thing. And then it gets a little creepier. It's like, you know, when all your powers and abilities, you never made a body for me. That was like, okay, that was just going creepy. And then her doing her face thing to that mannequin was like, oh my god, that was a nightmare film. I was like, oh my god, please turn off my TV. That was just nightmare at Loki Street. So and again is that Victor Timely turned off the pad, which was funny. How did Victor Timely got the time pad? I guess he took it while, you know, Renslayer was sleeping, whatnot, you know, whatever. I thought she was just like a thing that was like you don't have to turn on and off with Miss Minutes. It was kind of weird in this episode. Second time I was watching it, I was like, wait, can you turn off Miss Minutes? Like I thought she was like
you can contain her in the tempad.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Jeff. I was like kind of confused with what happened there. But yeah, and the speeches with Renslayer and Mr. M is really great. Like the Renslayer speech tells you who she is as a person. Like she is, you know, the order. She's the dictator. She's the person that, like, you know, is keeping the order. And she's a villain that is like kind of right, like Joker or Killmonger. This is something I'm like really excited for her if she becomes a major villain maybe soon. Like she is right. Ever since Loki came in the picture and everything has kind of fallen apart after she left, you know, and it's kind of true. If you've seen like the things right now we're seeing with the the season, and it's kind of scary that she's right about it. So that's kind of a unique twist that maybe she's right about that, and I'm very curious of what's going to happen to her. So her speech was great. I mean, that actress, that moment, that was her best performance, and really sells that for me to this character, Rainslayer. So I'm really excited where we're going to take her. Mr. M, Owen Wilson is a great actor. I think this episode, yes, Jeff, he probably didn't get enough due, but he's still great. I mean, he has funny moments with Tom Hiddleston. I mean, he has great lines. The thing that's great about it is that he has, again, the interaction with the Rainslayer, and that's his theme of this episode. He's interacting his former boss, now Emily, and so it's really cool to get more of that. Because that was something we saw briefly in the finale, but it was so short. I wish we had more of that, and I was happy that this episode we saw more of that. Yeah, and Sylvie, knocking them out. I agree with Cyber. I do have to give her props for actually thinking for the first time and saying just for herself that that this is going to repeat again, just like a time loop. So she actually did something that was proactive and breaking the time loop finally of this violence thing. Victor Timely begging for his life is kind of interesting. I mean, he is a cons man, so he's begging his life. It's interesting. I don't know if we have to be sympathizing him or be very pity for him, because he's such a coward and all that. And just I mean, I don't know. He how is it's kind of intriguing for me and interesting moving forward. Is he going to be Who Remains, or he could be another variant where maybe OB could be the Who Remains? I don't know, but it's just weird. I don't see some connection with him with Who Remains, but we'll see. Yeah, and then Sylvie, first off, Sylvie just pushing Rainslayer in the gut was so brutal. I mean, it was so funny, and then just kicking her into the the time door was funny, and yeah, and then of course seeing the Who Remains body was very horror it's kind of funny. I'm very intrigued what Miss Minutes say. She knows something about Rainslayer, a big secret, and she's gonna be angry. I'm so annoyed that we cut that, and we're gonna wait for next week to know what Miss Minutes gonna say. I hope they address that. I'm not gonna wait another episode to just get that reveal. I'm very curious about that. I have my theories, because Rainslayer does become a major character, her own self as a villain, and as a variant, and I can see her become a new. She could probably start her own TVA now, because she's over there in that end of time, and her and Miss Minutes could join together and create their own TVA and something like that. Because they're in that castle. You don't know if there's technology and stuff that she can build in the void. Plus, she has the creature. Jeff, remind me who's the creature's name?
Goliath.
Eliav. She can obtain Eliav, and she can just do what Kane did, but now it's Rainslayer. So that's something we have to consider in later in the series. That could happen. I feel she will become the new a position over Kane, where she has something that Kane has lost. She has obtained the void, obtained Eliav, and that's gonna be a big issue with Kane. So she'll be an equation to the multiverse war. So that's something we have to consider. So overall, I like this end of the episode. It was really fun. I'm so excited for the next 3 episodes. Again, just repeating, the 3rd and 4th episodes where the Disney Plus Marvel shows dip down in terms of quality, and so far Loki hasn't done that. So I'm very curious about how episode 4 is going to be. But overall, episode 3 was my favorite of Loki season of this series, and I'm excited to go for the next 3 episodes. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Jeff, same question, sir. Your thoughts on that section and the end of it?
Sylvie kicks Renslayer into a time door because she still has He Who Remains' his tempad, and she sends Renslayer and Miss Minutes to the void because she retrieves her tempad from Victor Timely when she gets back and whatnot and everything in the boat. And that's why when they get there and you see the rotted body of He Who Remains, Miss Minutes was kind of turned off because she pops back out and she finishes saying, "I love you," right? And that's when she tells Renslayer. I think what she's going to tell Renslayer is that she's lovers with He Who Remains, and that they've been together, like, you know what I'm saying, whatnot and everything. And probably, I bet He Who Remains has probably done her dirty. Probably, like, you know what I mean? But like, how does Renslayer, like, she knows now that she's been serving the TVA for eons. She said, right? Like, I've been doing this for eons. Like, she's owning it. You know what I mean? Like, she's owning that's the reality, right? Like, which, again, it's interesting just because, again, like, you know, I thought it was neat that you had the timeline offshoot, and that, like, you know, the timeline that they picked up Victor Timely is a branch timeline. It's not the actual sacred timeline anymore, right? I thought that was interesting, and I think that's important to bring up, right? I'm telling you, I think Victor Timely is going to end up being a hero in this series. I don't think he's going to be a villain. I do. I think he's going to help them fix the loom and everything and whatnot and all that shit and whatnot. And I think that he's a con man, but he's not being put in the series to be an antagonist. I don't think. I don't see that happening. I see Miss Minutes and Renslayer, and don't forget General Knox is out there too. Still, right? Like with some of the Minutemen. So there's a lot of competing shit going on out there, right? That, like, don't forget, like, there's other stuff going on out there. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more thrilled. We still have 3 more episodes to go. It's going to be great.
Excellent, thank you. Ratings, people. Andres, what would you give this episode?
Okay, I have my metric trick. 10 out of 10 is my rating of this episode. Yes, that's right, folks. You heard me. 10 out of 10. I mean, I was in love with this episode. It was really great episode for this series of Loki. I fairly enjoyed the first episodes. They're fun. They delivered that, but there was something missing. Here, I thought everything just connected right. You know, having Victor Timely here, Varian Kane, finally, was really great. I think every character was, like, on point in terms of their storylines and focus. In terms of development, made a lot of sense. Like, I got everything I wanted to see. Like, you know, seeing Mr. M and Renslayer, you know, fighting each other again more than what we saw in the finale for season 1, you know, which was great. So it was great to see their, like, camaraderie and, like, these best friends become enemies, similar to Magneto and Professor X a little bit, or, you know, Thor and Loki, in that matter with those two TVA agents. The production sign and, like, the historic, like, accuracy that they had done for this episode was really great. I really love it. The cinematography was really awesome here, like, just oozing cinematic TV, which is great. Just, you know, just the nitpick is Sylvie, but I think Sylvie was better than last episode. I feel like something was off of her in last episode. I felt like last episode was like a different, like, I feel like it should have been maybe episode 4 or 5 or something like that, but it was in episode 2. Here, I felt like Sylvie was much better, but it still didn't improve what we're getting here right now in season 2. But overall, great episode. I really love it. It's definitely the standout for me in this season. So it's a 10 out of 10, everyone. Go watch it. It's awesome.
Thank you, sir. Jeff, your rating, sir.
I'm gonna give it a 9.25, and I think Victor Timely is gonna be is gonna be really interesting in episode 4.
I will have to agree there. I think Victor Timely is going to be an amazing character through the rest of the series. I'm looking forward to seeing Jonathan Majors in this role. I mean, from the first moment he played He Who Remains in the first season of Loki, I knew he was going to be amazing as this character, and I have loved every bit he's brought to us, from Quantumania to this so far, to season 1 of Loki. He has been fantastic, so I'm looking forward to more of him. Even though with the stupid debacle this year with that chick, you know,
that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, I don't foresee him not being taken out as Kang. I think we will still see him. I mean, all the press work they put into, you know, the Kang film, I don't think they're going to recast Kang. They're going to keep him. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play Kang more and more, because he has been fantastic. I have to give the episode a giant 10 as well. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really great episode, really fun, really well done. Lots of great history info, lots of just great action, great dialogue, great comedy. All around, just a really fantastic episode. I mean, this is the halfway point of the season. So I think at this point, I think that, you know, surprisingly, the first 3 episodes have been really fantastic, which is really surprising. You know, for with how MCU has been the last couple of years, I feel a lot of people, I'm sure, are excited how well the first 3 parts and half of this season has gone. So I have high hopes for the rest of the season. I think it's going to be as good, and I think it's going to be really fantastic. Can't wait to see what else they bring, what this rest of the season holds, especially for Loki, for Sylvie, for Mobius, for all the characters. It's been great. Shout out to Disney Plus for releasing Werewolf by Night in color today. If you have not seen it yet, definitely go check it out. I watched it earlier. I tell you, it makes a huge difference seeing this in color. It really does. There's a lot more to it that you miss in that black and white version. So it was really fun. I'm glad that they did this, because it looks awesome in color. Man-Thing looks amazing. The blood, it looks amazing, especially because they have the splatter effect with a lot of blood when things were being chopped off and stuff like that in this. Really awesome. Really well done. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend watch it. It's even better than the black and white version. All right, so that's it for this review, guys. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jeff, and he'll take us out.
I haven't seen the Werewolf by Night since we reviewed it. Cyberneticshark, sir, 704 subscribers.
Yes, sir. Picked up 2 in the last couple days. Yeah, my most recent video still is Aquaman, the Lost Kingdom trailer. So check that out if you haven't. Like I said, if you enjoy me here on the MC Binge, definitely check out my solo content underneath Cyberneticshark. Find me on YouTube. You can find me on X. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, pretty much anywhere. As you can see here with my little mini reviews, I recently watched Slaughterhouse, which was hilarious. By the way, if you have not seen it, super funny horror comedy. A killer sloth. Who would have thought that would have been fun? And this movie was absolutely a blast. You got to see it, people. Definitely check it out. We'll do a full-length review on it soon. It was really fun. Prom Night, of course, is a classic. The original, of course, is the better of the 2, but the remake isn't too shabby, especially the unrated cut. It's a far superior film. But yeah, just busting out those shorts for you guys, trying to keep up the horror theme, except for the Hateful Eight there. So yeah, keep on trucking, keep on subscribing. Let's get us to that 1,000 mark. Me and the Mr. 60-Minute Man, Andres, the pop culture guy. And thank you to all the new subscribers. You guys are rocking it.
Appreciate you, folks. We're almost at 34,000K on the Bleeding Edge. I think as of today, we're almost at 34,000. So thank you for that. We really appreciate it. Andres, the pop culture guy. 8:30.
Yes. So anyway, look, thank you everyone for the MCU Bleeding community. You guys have been very awesome. Bottom of my heart, this has been an awesome month. So yeah, so up to 830 subscribers. Last time, so 2 days ago, I did a BRIO C 25th anniversary. I'm working on the project now to release it tonight, so it's done. I just need to upload that. And check out probably on Sunday a Bride of Chucky review, retrospective/review. Plus Sunday, not only that, you're gonna get a double Chucky because me and Jeff are back again to do a live stream of Chucky Season 3, Episode 3, Jennifer's Body, which I'm excited to talk about. I think it's going to be I think that's actually my favorite episode of Season 3. Is funny, and that's going to be a 10 out of 10. Just to let you guys know now, exclusively in this Loki, live stream. But yeah, please help me and Cyber to reach our mark of the end of the year. And it's been awesome. Let's keep up the numbers.
Fucking A, folks. All right, y'all. Good night. God bless y'all. We love you. We love Loki. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Just let the man breathe and just hush so my mind could just see, so my mind don't erupt. At times I feel I can't get enough, but I sip a double cup and I